Yeah, it's funny, man, that you bring that up because I've often been accused of being one of those guys that always bitched about wearing the uniform, or it's like, man, I wish we had a little bit more, latitude to do this and do that, even though we really did have that latitude. But
Sure.
I've often been that same guy as a civilian, because I retired back in January 2017. I've often been that guy that's like, man, it was so much easier when we were in the military and I knew exactly what I had to wear every
Yeah.
single day, because now
Never
I'm
had to
trying to
think
figure
about it.
out, yeah, does this collared shirt go with this belt, and are these socks match my tie and all that shit? It's like, man, it's crazy.
I know.
Um, but I just wanted to clear one little small thing that you had mentioned. 5 combat deployments to Iraq. I had 4 combat deployments, but it looked a
Okay.
little weird because I was there '03, and then '04 to '05.
Gotcha.
Was, yeah, and then '06 and '07. So I just wanted to be clear on that because I didn't want to
Yeah,
do
you don't
any
want
fake valor stuff.
right the military guys will get you in the comments. That's not true.
Yeah,
We
yeah, yeah.
Wikipedia'd you.
Didn't want to do that, but
Yeah.
I'm probably a huge anomaly, man, for a transition guy, because I was actually able to land my first job when I was still going through the terminal leave process and all that.
Mm.
And it was such a weird thing. I landed a job up in Washington D.C. I retired out of Fort Bragg, um, and I landed a job up in DC at the Museum of the Bible, of all places.
Wow.
Yeah, they were building the museum up there back in 2016. As well, they were started before that, but I started working there in 2016. And a guy that had used to work for me on my special forces team, he was the global director of security, so he had everything overseas, Israel and all that. So he needed someone in DC, and he asked me to do the job, and I interviewed for it and was lucky enough to get it. So my transition was super super smooth and super easy.
Mm.
And I got lucky, man. I was fortunate. And my one piece of advice, Jeff, I would say, is for guys to really keep their options open. You and I have been around for a while, and you see the same thing over and over, like, hey, I want to be a program manager, or I'm going to get my PMP, or, whatever. And
Yeah.
it's like, dude, just keep your options open, because if somebody would have told me back in 2015, hey, you're going to retire and you're going to go up to Washington, D.C., which I would have told them they're effing crazy. But if someone would have said, hey, you're going to go up to Washington, D.C., and you're going to be a director of security at a museum, I would have laughed in their face and walked away. But with that being said, man, I would just say keep your options open. There's a lot of things um, that the military has prepared us for, that the civilian market is really lacking. And I would say probably one of the main things is leadership, is being able to lead a team
Yeah.
and doing those two very simple things: accomplish the mission, take care of your people. Like, the civilian market is, man, they are in demand for that type of person. So keep your options open, and go out there and find something that you really like to do, and chase it down.
I think it's excellent advice, and the leadership in the civilian world is much different than what we're used to, you know, inside the fences, so to speak. But another thing I think I would add is that don't be afraid to reach out to fellow veterans. Like I think that was my biggest thing was I didn't do. I thought I knew what I was doing, and I wasn't getting jobs, and I couldn't figure out what the heck I was doing wrong until I reached out to a friend of mine who was a veteran. I said, dude, I can't get a job. I don't know what's going on. He's like, let me see your resume. And I sent it to him. And he's like, oh, well, this is the problem, bro. I'm going to send you mine. I want you to duplicate mine, do it exactly like mine. Look at the keywords, do some of that research. He's like, and then when you go apply for a job, do a Google keyword search and look at some of the keywords in the resume, in the job posting, and then replace those in your resume. He's like, you got to tailor every single time you hit the apply button. And I was like, dang, I didn't know all this. And then my resume changed, and then I started getting called back. It was something that simple. And then when I was going through other difficulties, reaching out to my buddies and saying like, don't be ashamed. Don't have too much pride. Call your friends. Link up with people on LinkedIn and other platforms, and you'd be shocked at the amount of help that people are willing to just unconditionally give you because you have the same title as veteran in common. So don't shy away from that because there's no only is there tons of resources, almost overwhelming, but there's plenty of really good people who are like, dude, whatever you need, what do you need?
Yeah.
I know a
I,
guy. I can if I don't know it, I know a guy. And buy into that.
yeah, I think that's great advice, Jeff. And I've had three jobs post military. I was director of security and director of ops at the Museum of the Bible. Then I was a security consultant for a couple of years at Thornton Tomasetti, which is a world renowned engineering firm. And then my last job, for 2.5 years, I was the chief of operations at the National Medal of Honor Museum Foundation.
Wow.
And every single one of those jobs, dude, every single one, I was able to get those jobs through a network,
Hmm.
through network of people that I knew or they knew someone that knew someone. So that is great advice. And I would say another very helpful tidbit is you need to go in there and to be able to sell yourself. And I only say this because I had a hard time with this, um, especially for that first interview. I was competing with a guy that was a Secret Service dude.
Mm.
And I was just like, man, this dude's already, he's in DC
Yeah,
and,
he's got it.
he's got all this experience and all this other stuff. But I was able to go in there and I had worked with someone to kind of help me because my mentor was like, hey, Darrell, I get it that you're a super humble guy and that's super cool. I appreciate it.